It's going to be interesting because if you look at the other side of the argument, the other theory of the case is around American jobs for American citizens.
Google certainly has currently a strategic advantage on the consumer side.
I think the tech workers are going to hopefully have a great year in the crypto market.
I look at what he stands to gain with government contracts, right? With SpaceX partnering with NASA.
We'll begin now. So, welcome to episode 8 of the World Wave podcast. We've got an exciting podcast lineup for you guys today, and we can't wait to dive in. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Caleb Solomon, the co-founder of Jara Capital, and as always, I'm here with my partner, Toyyib Morakinyo. What's going on, my brother?
I'm doing all right. First of all, obviously another Saturday. Ready to get on there. We have some amazing guests, so a lot of great topics lined up.
Yeah, wonderful. Exactly, and it's interesting how we are 11 days into January. I mean, time is definitely flying by so fast. And I'm very excited to just spend this moment with you guys on this pod, just to educate, entertain, and inspire our audience to action. And welcome back to the pod. Our bestie, Asuquo. What's going on, man? How's family? How's life?
I'm doing well. Great to be back. I'm grateful for the start to the year. It's been busy, frantic, which is good. Good energy, and family's doing well. Yeah, looking forward to discussing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we have a new guest joining the pod today, Raymond de Oliveira. What's going on, Ray?
Hey, Caleb. I'm glad to be on. I think this is my first time on this podcast, so you get to see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think before I let you introduce yourself, I'd like to share a brief, bit of how we met in terms of our connection. So Ray and we met back in 2013 at Columbia University. I believe you were at the Columbia College, and I was in the full foundation of engineering.
I was in the college.
Yeah, and Ray's an extremely smart guy, very ambitious, someone who we spoke endlessly about various topics, whether it was around the economics, business, and even philosophy as well. And I think one of his favorite authors or thinkers is Noam Chomsky, who we debated endlessly about. So I'll yield the floor to you, Raymond, so you can briefly introduce yourself, just a quick highlight what you do. And obviously, you don't have to disclose anything that you don't have to disclose back.
Sure.
Just a quick introduction to the audience.
So I have been working in startups for the last 7 or so years. Before that, I was in consulting. I was at a Bain & Company. And before that, I was in college still with Caleb, doing mathematics and economics. In the startup world, I have worked mostly in insurtech. I have been in 2 insurtech startups. One of them has done very well, Next Insurance, and then Limit is a digital brokerage. They're still Series A. And then I recently joined Clarity, so I left the insurance world to do AI automation for enterprise. And it's focused on, right now, accounting teams and finance teams, and how we can automate their document processing. It's been very exciting using generative AI from the beginning of when it's taken off, even in insurtech, and then seeing it really doing its promise of automating and getting rid of manual labor or drudgery, like labor no one really wants to be doing, checking all the boxes for each document, making you question your life choices and your meaning in life. And so we're getting rid of that to enable people to do more creative work. And I think that's generally the promise of AI.
Yeah.
So that's been exciting. And what I've done at these companies, I've built a product. So I built what we sell, and here as well. I'm building the generative AI platform, along with, of course, not doing it alone, other people and other engineers. it's been a wild ride. I joined a year ago, and they've already raised to Series B, and we'll see if there's another series this year.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I mean, Ray has always been interested in leaving the mark, like to quote the Jay-Z term, leaving the mark in the world where space or time can erase. So he's very, what's the term? Very, very passionate about leaving an imprint in the world. So I'm very excited to have him on the podcast today. Let's just share his thoughts and insights about what is going on in the world, and also, try to share some knowledge to our audience today. So thanks, Ray, for joining today. And to our audience, we truly appreciate you investing your time to listen to the World With podcast. You could be anywhere in the world, but you spend in the next hour with us, and we don't take your support for granted. So with that, let's jump straight into
Caleb, just also before we jump into the topics here, Ray, obviously, I don't know if you share with people, right? Based on your location, I just want to take a moment just to say our thoughts and prayers with the California wildfires, that's going on in LA right now. I've got family and friends out there. Thank God no one has been impacted directly that I know, but I know so many people have lost their homes, lost lives, and it's truly devastating what we're seeing right now. So certainly thoughts and prayers to all those.
Yeah, I have friends directly impacted over there, and they likely didn't lose their home, but they have friends that did. So it's been a wild ride, and a lot of famous people too. So it's a lot of attention has been drawn to it. One of my favorite freestyle rappers, Harry Mack, lost his house.
Oh, Harry Mack, are you
lost
serious?
his house. His house was directly in the fire. Yeah, I know. His wife and him had to evacuate. They're safe. I know he's great every time I see him. But that really kind of brought it home, him and my friends who live down there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thoughts and prayers, as you've said, and then we hope that they stay strong and in this trying time. So with that, let's jump straight into the predictions for the year. That'll be the main topics. I think last pod we talked about the best. I mean, the biggest winners and losers on our last pod. This pod will be centered around predictions. Who will be the biggest winner? Who will be the biggest loser? And then we'll share some reasons why we think they will be. So with that, the first segment will be centered around political predictions. So I will start with Ray. Ray, from your perspective, who do you think will be the biggest political winner for 2025?
Political winners in the U.S., right? We're focusing here.
It could be global as well. You can think of it from a global perspective, geopolitics.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Well, let's start with the U.S. since I think that's probably more of our audience. I think we have a Trump presidency starting, and that always comes with much greater volatility. It's very hard to predict beforehand, but I do think we're going to see continued polarization, continued. The centrists and the moderates are not really going to have a great year, right? And so I think the biggest winners are going to be the polarized left and right. I think the tech workers are going to hopefully have a great year in the crypto market, although that might have volatility towards the end of the year. I think there's a hype, and then there's going to be probably a little bit of a disillusionment. And I think an overlooked area are the people into defense. So the contract, the military-industrial complex, I do think we should not turn a blind eye to that. That may even overtake as a trend the AI trend if things go south, right? We've been seeing suspicious things. We've been seeing a lot of drones that no one can really account for. We've been seeing a lot of heightened tensions in the waters, right? When China continues expanding, and when others continue expanding around maritime ports, including Ukraine, right? But all over the world, that threatens U.S. dominance of naval dominance, right? And so that's going to result in more investment from us in reaction and response. And the Navy is already the largest business in the world. So anyone selling into that, anyone doing robotics, unmanned aerial vehicles, anyone doing that kind of contract work they're gonna probably win out. And if you're joining, like, now's a good time to join probably the CIA, the
Yeah.
FBI, joining those camps. And that's also where they're more stable, right? So they've entrenched themselves over so many different regimes in terms of like the state bureaucrats who actually run everything, right? So like every new president comes in, will Trump really be able to say, to do something wildly different than what the military advisors suggest? The military advisors who also have been around for 20 years and have all these connections to lobbyists and everyone else that they've been working with, and they're protecting those interests. Probably not. Like there's just so much weight behind all of that. And, you come onto a new job, you know nothing about this extremely mission critical thing called military industrial complex and international affairs in all its intricacies, right? Besides for just making like big headline announcements like Trump likes to do, they're going to probably quickly overwhelm you with a lot of fears and considerations. And you're like, oh, I can ignore them all if I'm Trump, and I can just like say, I don't care about any of that. I'm just call up Putin. I'm just gonna call him, and we're gonna settle things, right? It's easy. What are you guys all doing? But I don't think it's gonna be as simple as that. And I think we'll see also probably more people maybe doing the expats. I know a couple expat communities across the world. They're probably gonna stay over there. They're probably going to look from afar to see how things are going here before they come back. So anyway, so that's a little bit of that.
Yeah. So your answer is basically the polarization of the left and right ideologies will be the biggest winner. Is that, and the centrists are probably going to lose, given the your point that you just made. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, Toyyib, what is your biggest potential winner for 2025?
Yeah, if I'm just looking at 2025, and I think, Ray, you're super spot on in terms of the increased polarization that I think we're about to see over the next 12 months. But if I think about who's really been the biggest winner if I look at this year, it's certainly the incoming administration, right? And mainly President-elect Donald Trump. If you think about what the last 4 years has been like, from the legal issues that he's had in the courts, and he was supposed to get sentenced, and now, right, he just got unconditionally discharged, and he's about to take hold in office. And we all know, hey, the first 90 days of any new administration is a honeymoon period where, right, there's a lot of high enthusiasm, right? Some people are going to come out and be happy and excited. He even talked about how this time around, Wall Street and the tech sector, who had once, shown him, is now reaching out to him, asking to come down to Mar-a-Lago because they want to be his friends. So absolutely, everybody is almost, putting the results of his legal issues behind us now. It's almost like he's getting this fresh new blank slate. Everybody's excited. So for the year, anyways, I think he's gonna be in a position to certainly enjoy some honeymoon of the new administration, and people are certainly going to kowtow to his wishes for sure for the first year. Now, what I think the next 4 years will look like, that's a different conversation. But at least for this year, he certainly should be feeling good, I guess.
And I agree, and I feel like he feels like he has the mandate, given the people who say that it was a landslide win, by winning the 7 swing states, and the number of people, the coalition that he formed around, whether it's Black, Hispanics, women, just the whole coalition he's formed, redefining the Republican Party as a working class family. He feels like he has a mandate to execute. So we will see how that works. So your prediction is, your political winner for the year, President Trump, is Asuquo.
Yeah.
Asuquo, what is your biggest
for me,
winner?
I think aligned with everything Ray and Toyyib said. I think an extension of that would be the people that are around, kind of Trump and the come into office. So for me, the obvious one would be Musk, right? I think a lot of people obviously see him as a winner, and just generally he's winning in life. But with his partnership with Trump, folks keep looking at Tesla and X, but I look at what he stands to gain with government contracts, right? With SpaceX partnering with NASA, for example. I think it could be a very big year for him if they have successful launches or missions. So I think Musk has a lot to gain in 2025, and that coalition with Trump and with the party in general is going to be quite fruitful, it seems.
Okay, Elon Musk
I
or
agree with
pretty
that.
much the people around Trump will be the biggest winner.
People around Trump, but
People around
number
Trump.
one winner is Musk.
Musk. Okay.
Well, Elon's been winning already, right? If you look at, and I'm sure, right, we all following his net worth and Tesla
Yeah.
stock performance post the election results. And I mean, the man ended the year last year $200 billion richer than what he started the year with. Tesla was on a tear. It's pulled back a little bit now. So we'll see. And I think last podcast I talked briefly about Elon Musk's unique position of having like presidential level influence and power without having to go out and go get the votes directly and being elected into office. So it's a nice sweet spot to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my biggest political winner for 2025, I went with fiscal conservatism. I think when you look at the U.S. economy today and the labor markets, I would say it's quite healthy. I mean, we have $35 trillion in national debt, which is looming, but for some reason, everybody agrees that there has to be something. I mean, something has to be done to address the debt and deficits in the United States. Whether it's the growing committees being formed in government with the Doge Committee, and also we look at the caucuses that have been formed around trying to find some ways to resolve the waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. I think first for the first time there's bipartisan momentum to tackle these challenges, and also I think both parties, whether it's Ro who's the congressman in California, and other Democrats and Republicans are working together to figure out, hey, how can we reduce, these deficits, or how can we reduce the budget sides across all the agencies? The biggest elephant in the room that needs to be addressed is around Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. I understand that, President doesn't want to touch it. He doesn't want to do anything on it, but we can't bury our face in the sand and try to ignore the problem. That is about, I don't know, so close to 70% of the budget. We need to find a way to streamline it, or find a way to make it more sustainable. Else, I don't think it's going to be sustainable if that doesn't result. So I think this year, with the level of bipartisanship around trying to find a way to reduce the government size and also to make the economy run smoothly, I think fiscal conservatism is primed to dominate in 2025. So that's my potential biggest winner for 2025.
Well, I mean, we'll see about that, right? Because
see, yeah.
as much as I'm a huge Elon Musk fan, I'm a Tesla investor, enjoy it. Obviously, we have great respect for what Elon has achieved. When he first came out, if you all remember early on, they talked about Doge is going to cut $2 trillion out. Just recently, those recent news that, we might not actually get to $2 trillion now. So Elon has, even as successful he's been in business, he does have a history of overpromising and having a very aggressive timeline, and then we're not there yet. Tesla's self-autonomous driving, it's just going to be all over the street, and we're going to have all this in a specific time, and then we don't get there. So I love the optimistic approach, but we'll see by the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll see. But overall, I think the sentiment around, hey, we need to do something about it, I think that's a good first step, because both parties have been talking about it, but for some reason this year it seems like, okay, they want to do something now. Whether it's going to be $1 trillion, $500 billion, $2 trillion, I don't care about the number. Something just has to be done to send a signal to the world or to America that, hey, we're listening to you guys. Want to make sure that you guys have sustainable entitlements for the next decade. So the next top question is the biggest political loser. We'll start with Asuquo. Who do you think is who will be the biggest political loser in 2025?
I think in 2025, it might be someone on the left, likely maybe the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who we thought was a potential candidate for the presidency when Biden stepped down. So there was a lot of momentum and talk around him. And just that flip from sort of now to where he is with, fire departments being underfunded, the way that the fires are being handled, and also Trump kind of lashing out at him. I just think that he is poised to suffer some political damage, at least in the first quarter, which might sort of not tarnish, but if he had political aspirations, it might put a dent in that, right? But presidential aspirations, not political. Yeah. So that's why I think might be the
Okay.
loser for 2025.
Governor Gavin Newsom. Okay.
Yeah.
Toyyib, who is the
Oh man,
prediction for?
that's such a great pick. But Ray, you had mentioned something earlier around the like the increased polarization that I think we're about to see over the next 4 years. How much of that we think manifest in year one? But I actually am going on the flip side of that around the biggest loser, which is right those moderate voices. I think there's something about recency bias around, hey, we've just been under call it the Biden administration, so maybe we all forgot what the first 4 years under the Trump administration was like. But I expect us to once again lose those moderate voices. I do not expect a lot of bipartisanship work. And listen, we all talk a good game, but I think over time things are going to be more polarized and everybody takes more of extreme positions. And I think those tend to be the loudest voices. And I think that's more of what we'll start to see in 2025. So if you're somewhere in the middle or you're trying to correlate some of these strong personalities together, you certainly have a hard time ahead, both in Congress, and then we'll see what Donald's actually able to achieve. So yeah, my biggest loser are right, those moderate voices, those folks in the middle who's really looking to drive actual change.
Yeah.
Okay. So moderate voices. Raymond, who is the potential biggest political loser for 2025?
So I mean, I can rip on that a little bit. So we have the establishment left, which is in the modern polarized climate, they are like the moderates essentially at this point. The establishment on either side, although the establishment on the right has this wholesale sold their souls already, and they're like, oh no, no, we're totally for Trump. So they've been quiet because they're kind of winning if they just shut up. But the establishment left can't just shut up and win, and they can't speak up and win either because of the failure in this recent reelection not happening for them. So I do think there might be a complete realignment of the left. They have to figure out what that is relative to a right that includes tech, tech voices. What is there left that they could be having a coalition around, right? Will it be finally more progressive than it has ever been? Will it be the kind of party that Bernie Sanders would finally be proud of? And that's the only remaining, counterpoint to whatever the right has become now. We'll have to see. But yeah, it's not only Gavin Newsom; it's really just the whole old guard, right? Like everyone that was in the the current president, recent past president's camp. That they're all going to probably suffer deeply. And I think also states are deep blue, which Trump has no need to try to win any votes from because he's going to lose them anyway. He, being in a polarized world, might just really turn on them, sacrifice them, like maybe take away all the subsidies, take away all the things, or demand more from them, and try to reallocate wealth and power and voice to the states. Maybe either on the borders if he's of supporting him if he's lucky, but maybe just more to his fanatical base. Probably I think we're going to see more incentives to join Texas, to move states to Texas, Florida, and I think there's going to be pressure to reduce taxes. So all the states that keep high taxes, I think they're going to see a lot of downside to that. California being one of them. I know I might be speaking as an interested party that they reduce taxes, but
Okay.
but I do think because of the freedom of labor to move around now more than ever, the states are now in competition with each other more than ever in their policies and how business friendly they are or are not. And then you see businesses just moving states, right, to show that like they're not messing around with they're not going to wait for you to change your laws. They'll just build a new HQ somewhere else. And I think there's one more area that we haven't talked about, which is immigration. So we know about the big H-1B fight. amongst the right. It's like it is a fascinating thing because the left, Bernie Sanders, they're all really pro H1B, my immigration, and so is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
All right, and so like they're all like on that topic very aligned. I think one of the underlying drivers is that if you go to colleges today and go in their classrooms, like the vast majority of the actual attendance of our top colleges are like H-1B visa kind of candidates, right? They're foreign nationals. They're people coming out. You hate them or not like them, but the point is, if you don't hire them and if you don't let them actually stay and work here, you're gonna have to reform the universities somehow. You're gonna have to somehow do, I don't know, affirmative actions for Americans, or you're gonna have to do something to change the ratio there so that you're not saying we're gonna throw away basically everyone that we're giving the best education to in this country because we don't like immigrants. I think that would be very unwise, very bad for business, very very bad overall.
Very bad.
Yeah. And so, but there might be policies forcing those universities to do something like you must enroll X% Americans. You must. I can see Trump doing something like that. It would seem very patriotic, and then that might have a dent in the fundraising of those universities. Which there's a reason they do a lot of international students. They pay a lot, and good for their endowment.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because if you look at the other side of the argument, the other theory of the case is around American jobs for American citizens, which, okay, it makes sense. However, you need that unit of human capital to create wealth. How many Americans today, again, not to be, and that's what, I think they had a long post about how most immigrants have that hustle culture. They're like, we want to grind. Again, not to cast any aspersions towards American citizens or those who are born in America, but like, how many of them are willing to work 18-hour days, like work days? As an international student, I don't care what. So I guess that's the argument. That's the tension. They feel like, man, you are giving all these high-paying jobs to these international students who are not citizens versus American people who deserve to have those kind of jobs. So it's going to be an interesting debate and definitely a topic that we should discuss maybe on the next part, just to work throughout the nuances, because it's a nuanced argument. And I mean, again, I'm an international student. I came from Ghana. It was quite difficult for me to get a job, and even getting the H-1B, it was good for me to get it. So it's definitely a topic that we could delve deep into. My biggest potential loser for 2025, I had two names: Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, and also the president for the Republic of China, Xi Jinping. And here's the theory of the case. I know Trump, people think Trump is a crazy guy. Trump was the first person when interest rates was low, telling the public that, guys, we need to extend the bonds to 100 years. And everybody thought he was crazy. And now interest rate is like, treasury yield is at 4.7 now. And now we're trying to figure out how do we solve it. So the theory of the case is around the Panama Canal and also Greenland. Trump is trying to redefine the Monroe Doctrine. And I'll just give a quick primer on the Monroe Doctrine. So the Monroe Doctrine was established in 1823 by President James Monroe, and it declared that any European interference in the political affairs of the Americas will be viewed as potentially hostile act against the United States. So the goal, or the true essence for the Monroe Doctrine, was to limit European colonization and influence of the Western Hemisphere, while asserting that the U.S. role will be dominant power in that region. So if, for example, Trump is talking about, having stronger control over the assets in the Panama Canal and also pursuing some acquisition in Greenland, how will this impact Russia and China? Number one, the impact for Russia will be, one, if given that Greenland is the gateway to the Arctic, and this region has untapped natural resources and critical to the future of shipping route like Asmia. It is very critical to the future shipping routes. If the and the U.S. gain control over the Greenland, not only would it bolster the presence in the Arctic region, but it's also counter against Russia's growing military presence in that region as well. And also, number two is it will act as a strategic containment for Russia to protect its power and influence in that region as well. Respect to the China issue is all about trade and economic interest. So the Panama Canal today is a vital trade route for global commerce, whether including China's exports to the Americas, and with increased U.S. control in that region, not only can U.S. control the amount of trade logistics happening there, that could be used to limit China's reach in that region as well. And also, I think China has a vision, like is that one belt, one road strategy, looking to strengthen that whole infrastructure. That so I see this as Trump being a deal maker. If that happened, Russia might be in trouble, and also China as well with the global trade. So that I think now that's my prediction. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if that happened, I predict that Russia, Xi Jinping, and China will be the biggest. And obviously with the tariffs that Trump has is coming to play, and also if Trump is able to fix the war and the Russia war, I'm not sure how he's going to broker that deal. But if that's able to happen, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, anyway, so I'll stop here. That is my biggest loser for 2025.
Big predictions there, so right.
Yeah,
now we'll see how much of that actually materializes.
We'll see.
And I think we all waiting. The show starts on the 20th, so 20th. Countdown.
Yeah. I do think, Caleb, if they lose, it's going to be short-term loss.
Short-term.
I think what we see is that the weaning off of dependence on the U.S. as the global police state, and of the default currency being the U.S. dollar. I think that's going to be hard in the short term, but eventually they're going to be more resilient than ever. And I think along the way, politically speaking, they can make a case that like America's the bad guys. Look at them hurting us, and then they will stay in power, right? Even as their citizens are suffering economically. Usually, what politicians do is say, no, there's like real military need for us to have strong executive power and strong centralized power because we're facing a grave threat, abroad. And in this polarized world, that's an easier and easier argument that everyone defaults to, and then they raise more military funding, and Xi Jinping will stay in power, even though most of the success of the party has been because it raised everyone out of economic poverty, and they get a lot of success. Sure, there'll be more revolts, but I don't think any of them will succeed, and I don't think anyone's going to overthrow Putin unless he gets like assassinated or something.
I think that's going to happen.
So,
I think that'll happen. Well, and that concludes the first segment of the prediction. The second segment will be around business and technology predictions. So we'll probably start with Toyyib. Give us your biggest business winner for 2025.
Biggest business winner. Okay, so I think we all agree, call it the last 2 years, AI has been maybe the biggest winner in terms of it's now kind of top of mind for all of us. If you invested in NVIDIA, congratulations, right? Like the semiconductor stock there has done really well. If I take into account, though, right, the new administration coming in, and I see some shift across the sector, my biggest winner right now is the energy sector. And I'm actually deploying a little bit more capital to show up that than I've done in the past. I truly believe in the energy sector. Like this year, over the next call it 3 to 5 years, anyways, they're in a prime position. One, right? We know the new administration is going to be more in favor of deregulation in the energy sector, allowing them certainly right to continue to dig for more oil there, which is super good. There's going to be less focus, whether we like it or not, less focus on sustainability and how much do we protect the earth and focus on climate change. More and more of that is going to go away. And it's certainly right, CEOs at ExxonMobil and some of these like big energy and oil and gas companies are getting excited about that opportunity coming ahead. So I think the energy stocks, energy sector is going to do really, really well. I'm excited to see what that looks like. Plus, you have the increased demand. I mean, we talk about AI being a huge driver. It's a huge energy consumption as well, right? So there's this huge demand. So energy companies, utilities, they're primed to do really, really well. I think certainly under this administration.
Yeah.
Okay. Energy sector for Toyyib. Raymond, biggest business winner for 2025.
Biggest business winners. I think crypto is going to continue rallying. I think there's massive potential for it to hit just that next level of adoption with the Elon Musk and Trump partnership there. They're it just takes a few words and like him wrangling the feds and like if he really does make it a second national currency, if he makes it a default for banks and so on, then it just really changes the game, because it also reduces downside risk that it's going to be nothing. The negative speak is that this is not adding real value. It's not going to stay around. It's going to crash. But if you make it a default, if you make it a standard, if you accept it, like at a governmental level, like never before, then it's really going to probably change a lot of hearts and minds. Like, oh, it's here to stay. It's going to be big, and it's not going to fall back to like some prior state. More mainstream people might finally say, okay, well, I'm going to start actually using crypto if this is like acceptable, and somehow the government has support for the infrastructure build out needed.
Okay.
So that's one of them. But also I would say another area are the AI and robotics. So AI and robotics has not fully had its year yet. Software AI has been doing great, and there was talk this past year that this was going to be the year of robotics, right? I think in a small scale way it has happened, but I think it's going to continue to be a massive trend. AI and robotics combined, not only for factories and manufacturers, right, cutting costs, but also for the military. And I think I was mentioning the unmanned aerial vehicles and other kinds of drones. I think with better and better AI, that is the future of like naval warfare, is AI driven warfare. And so anyone who is doing, there's even like submarine drones. There's a lot of aquatic AI that can be. There's some stocks there that I had in mind, which will probably do very well, and some strong theses around those. So any like strong AI startup trying to do the defense sector probably will also do pretty well.
Okay, no, that's pretty good. I mean, great point. AI, robotics, and cryptocurrency. I love it.
Yeah.
Asuquo, your biggest business winner.
Oop, you're on mute.
I think building on the AI kind of boom and trend, the biggest winners that I see for 2025 are the folks that support that ecosystem. So when I think about data centers, right, they're the ones that are actually driving a lot of the compute power that's needed. They do all the storing and the processing. They cannot grow fast enough. I mean, there's one behind my house called Cyrus One, and they just keep expanding and expanding and
Wow.
expanding. So they're just on sort of a tier to support the insatiable need for AI across all industries. And then I think a knock-on effect on that is whoever they're buying the land from, right? Because they need more land than they can get right now. And so being able to find land that they can quickly zone for their data center builds and use, is there's somebody on the back end that's benefiting from that. I just don't know who that person is, but whoever owns the land that data centers are gobbling up is also winning in 2025 big time.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Data centers and all the
100%
companies that
agree with that.
empowers.
AI.
Okay.
And it sounds like the landowners,
The
especially
landowners.
around these massive build out. Yeah, where I think Seattle, Phoenix, probably around Houston, or right on Austin. So I think that's going to be a great buy.
Awesome. Well, my prediction, I went with a common name that everybody knows. I went with Google because I think Google has the entire stack or the vertical integration. So if you look at the AI today, the infrastructure component of it, obviously NVIDIA leads the GPU, but also Google has a TPU that is quite competitive. And I mean, if you're a startup founder that you're thinking about, using a GPU or CPU, you might also want to consider using a TPU as well to process, your data. But yeah, so I looked at, from the stack, I looked at, Google has that component. Also, they partner with Broadcom to help with the networking component of it, because the AI, you need the GPU, you need the networking, you need the memory, all that. So that's one thing. But what really excites me about Google is obviously they also have this subsidiary called DeepMind, which pioneered, breakthrough around AI and positioning the company as the Gen AI and machine learning leader. But what I'm actually excited about is the software component of it. I mean, for example, when it comes to the picks and shovels, NVIDIA is controlled by 98% of the market. If you add Google to it, it's about 75%. So Nvidia is definitely going to win, but I'm looking at it from the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, who will be the biggest winner? I think it's going to be the companies with the huge amounts of data sets. And the only company which the biggest data set in the world is Google with their search and advertising, and also with their YouTube as well, videos. So they can do a lot, apply, the AI on top of the large amount of data sets to generate insights for whatever they want to do with that. And also number two is the hardware component of it. Obviously, they have Waymo, which is like an interesting project working on. Self driverless cars. You need AI uh, uh, um, at the edge to be able to process the information to make sure that the car doesn't crash or anything. So I think having Waymo, having this, the SaaS component with their product, the Google product, whether it's the Gmail and all that stuff, I think this year they are going to be the biggest winner. And so my thing is that OpenAI might be, unless they do something, they might be in trouble. I think the OpenAI will face lots of pressure, not only from the max, not max from the FANG stock like Facebook, Amazon, Google, and also Microsoft, but also they need to figure out how do they position themselves as a player. And I think, and I'm going to predict that right now, OpenAI and Microsoft, they are close buddy. At some point, there might be friction and they might have to separate. So that's just my prediction for 2025.
I think the contract is raising the partnership between OpenAI and Microsoft, where it's once OpenAI generates $100 billion, at that point through AGI, at that point, right, that does naturally create the separation. So I think we'll see that, but I think Google certainly has currently a strategic advantage on the consumer side from the hardware and software. I think about our daily lives. We all on Google search. People own, right, all these Google hardware and products in our daily lives. Now, can it? Because OpenAI, a lot of people are trying to steal its market share for sure. So many different players in that space, but it still has, I think, overall a superior product right now. Now, how much of that gap gets closed by the end of the year and certainly over the next 5 years, that's we'll see.
Until that goes. Awesome. The biggest business loser for 2025, Raymond?
The biggest business loser. This is a good question. I think, I think that if you're not investing in the markets that we talked about so far, I think you're not gonna do as well. I think that if you're working on, it's hard to say. I think in an increasingly volatile world, you're going to have you know what? I think the main driver here is going to be more internationally. If you have areas that are hitting the cliff with population, you're going to see areas that are having population crisis. The landowners are going to do terribly. The real estate, there's like cities paying you to go and live there, right? They're like, please help us repopulate and like stay alive and relevant. And I think in the U.S. is also, if we do something about immigration, border control, just really restrict immigration, our birth rate is not great, right? And so we're going to, well, now maybe the wages will raise a little bit, but I do think that regional economies are going to definitely suffer. And I think also any economy, any local economy that's based on manufacturing and having a lot of jobs, like blue collar labor jobs in factories and in this industrial complex, they're going to get increasingly replaced with robots, right, and replaced with AI. And I think they're going to need a lot of retooling, reskilling that may not happen so fast, right? And not only reskilling, but also literally new jobs are not only slowing down due to greater efficiency of existing workers, right? Like I've seen, so like the main thing that my current company does is they don't replace the jobs. They're not like leading to teams being fired when you use our AI, but what it allows is an existing team to stay the same to support a rapidly scaling business, which, in a counterpositive world, you would have that team having to scale much more, right? Like in the old world. So I think that's going to really hurt the especially also the younger generation. So the people who are just starting out, they don't have now they may use AI the most, but are they skilled in those highly specialized ways that is needed to participate in the labor economy? So I think that's going to be a major reason to move out of maybe small cities, unless you have a remote job. If you're going like locally to the factory down the street, that's not gonna that's a dead end probably at this point.
Okay. Good point. Asuquo, your biggest business loser 2025.
Biggest business loser for 2025 for me, I think I would have to say some of the industries that, this is very, very narrow, and so it's something that's just pertinent to something I'm working on, is basically industries that are failing to kind of make the digital transition
So
to
legacy companies.
Yeah.
legacy companies, right? So for example, I'm advising a company right now that has been doing analog screen printing for the longest, right? These are like very huge technical machines that you have to put ink into. You have to have a squeegee
Oh
on
my god.
to put the ink on the t-shirt or whatever it is you're printing. And you have digital screen printers where Ohio State unfortunately beat Texas yesterday, but there's shirts that they make in minutes and hours that just like digitally print. These guys are the Cotton Bowl champions for 2025. And there are companies like that are still doing the analog printing, but have refused to move to the digital because they have legacy clients, but they don't think about, hey, what's the opportunity for me if I actually embrace this new digital technology to get new clients. They may be smaller clients, they may be individual entrepreneurs, they may be Amazon resellers, and they may not look like the current clients that you have that are big brands or big names, but it's likely going to lead to much bigger opportunities. And guess what? The margins are larger. So even if volume goes down, your overall profits will go up because the margin for this digital product is much larger. So that's just an example of a legacy company that's kind of stuck in the old ways and is resisting or not embracing a digital shift that's like happening right before their eyes. And I'm sure you guys have several examples.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have a lot.
I mean, that's such a great one. We'll need another podcast because I really another podcast on that topic because I really want to delve deeper. Oftentimes I see a lot of prediction on LinkedIn and they talk about in 2025 AI is going to completely replace this and X number of people, and right, we're going to have this job. Certainly, right, pockets is flatlining, but hey, this huge shift. And I think folks who've come from the consultant space and you have a chance to talk to companies and CEOs and leaders in manufacturing or some of these other spaces who tend to be laggers than leaders in some of the technology shift, you would see that there's a lot of companies that are not embracing technology and there's no way positioned to just have fully automated workers in 2025. So, how long does that shift happen? That's going to be a quite interesting conversation that I want to have.
Yeah, definitely have to talk about it. My biggest loser of business loser for 2025, I went with TikTok. This might probably be like a cheat code because obviously the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay. Yeah.
Trying to figure out. Deliver a verdict. I think they'll probably uphold the ban. So that's one portion of it. But also there's a lot of geopolitical tensions around the data. Who owns the data? Is it owned by truly ByteDance or is it owned by the China by Xi Jinping or the People's Republic of China? So that is the argument right now. So I think my prediction is the ban will probably likely happen. They will have to divest their assets in the United States. Maybe Kevin O'Leary or Mr. Wonderful will probably buy those assets with. There's speculations around Elon Musk buying those assets. We don't know yet, but I think that is my biggest business loser for 2025, TikTok.
Yeah. Now I know, right? Then Trump, I think the Trump administration had asked for an injunction, right, to hold off until he takes, because the ban is supposed to take effect the 19th. The new administration comes in on the 20th. So there's been the request by the courts to hold an injunction and hold that until the new administration can evaluate the merits of that case. So That'll be an interesting one. I do not see
That'll be
TikTok going
interesting.
away, but there are,
Yeah,
to
same. I
your
haven't
point, there
think
are
so either.
geopolitical uh,
Turns
components
into
that you
that.
have to evaluate. So
Yeah, I mean,
for
there's a
me,
lot
oh, go
of
ahead.
they say there's a lot of argument that all American jobs are going to get hit. A lot of Americans are making money all on TikTok, right? And
And
Getting paid on
so
TikTok. Yeah.
that's how Trump came around. He's like, "Oh, I'm for it," mostly because I'm famous on it and it's
I'm
helping me.
famous.
yeah, I want the yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely Americans. They definitely are going to lose jobs if you ban them. So I can totally see.
Yeah.
It's stock pick wise. You think about it like that. I think also government action on demonopolizing Google. The government has been quite antagonistic of Google.
Yeah.
They have a mandate for them to divest, right? I think divest the entire Chrome division. So they had to figure out how to cut that out. Now, I think there might be an argument that they're going after them for search. The government
Yeah.
thinks of them as a monopoly on search. Now, they could argue search is not really one thing anymore. There's also AI, right? People aren't
Yes.
actually AI's eating
Chat
search,
GPT.
Yeah.
right? So we're not a
For sure.
monopoly. We're fair game now. We're being competed against in this totally new way. But it's, and so please let us keep our search. And then meanwhile, they're going to add AI to their search to try and compete against OpenAI. I think also it won't be so clear of an advantage over using search in the future because you're going to have ads in like Perplexity in these
Yeah.
AI platforms. And then it's like, as a consumer, you're like, well, I was using you to avoid the ads, and now you're giving me ads. So, okay, it's looking the same now. So yeah, but anyway, there's some thoughts.
That's awesome. So
I'll give just briefly my biggest loser on the business side. And here I went with the DEI advancements and policies,
okay.
especially in the
Good one.
workplace. Right,
Meaning,
we are seeing right now a flat out attack on DEI policies. We're seeing lots of big institutions, especially in the tech sector, wind down right their DEI requirements programs. I'm seeing some of these big techs shut down their diversity supplier programs or their DEI roles, and head of DEI being cut out. And it's a lot of attack around, or if you have DEI policies, that means you're sacrificing on merit, which I completely disagree with. By the way, I think that there's nothing wrong with, especially big institutions, saying, "Hey, let's evaluate our pipelines. Are we really getting the best of the best, and do we really have a diverse pipeline, and are we recruiting the right ways?" Right? If you think about a lot of advancement in the workplace, I use the example of let's use Tim Cook, right, CEO out of Apple. Do we truly believe that Tim Cook is the only capable person that could ever be the CEO at Apple? No, but one, he's got the merit and qualification. Plus, he had the relationships with Steve Jobs in order to be the self chosen right successor. So oftentimes, you can have diversity without necessarily sacrificing merit. But the question is, hey, are we really truly recruiting across? Are we looking at underrepresented minorities in the workplace, getting the best talent in all different posts rather than just your established institutions? But obviously, right, we're seeing an attack on that, and I think we'll continue to see that certainly over the next 3 to 4 years. But it's natural for things to swing. So maybe it's an attack right now. I wouldn't be surprised 4 or 5 years later we see a resurgence on DEI efforts. We saw that happen when George Floyd passed away or was murdered, and right, companies start to focus more. We swung back this way. Maybe the pendulum will swing again. Call it another 3 to 4 years.
Awesome. DEI advancements policy. Okay. Let's use the next. We have 4 more questions to go. Maybe we keep it very short and brief because we have about, I think, about 15 more minutes to go in the part. So the next question is around the best performing asset. So I'll probably start with maybe Raymond. Let's go with you. What do you think will be the best performing asset for 2025?
It's probably still going to be semiconductors.
Semiconductors. Okay.
Yeah, maybe not totally Nvidia, but they may be a little overpriced. But I think maybe not Intel either. They're not doing the greatest in terms of strategy there. But AMD,
You think
I would say.
AMD?
No, you guys just seem bearish on AMD. All right.
I've lost faith with Lisa Su. Again, respectfully, like I like Lisa Su. Is that smart? I mean, she built AMD was an all-time low. I think it was $6 a share. Grew it up to like I don't know what the share is right now. Like almost triple the business company. But looking at the way Jensen, and for some reason they are cousins. Jensen and Lisa Su, they're distant cousins. The way Jensen is releasing different products every quarter, like they can't keep up with the GPU. Like they dominate the GPU market, 98%. I mean, AMD, I don't see AMD getting share unless AMD decides to have
think
an
it's
M&A.
not going to be the GPU market. I think there's
market
going
is
to
gonna be
continue to have new infrastructure, new type of hardware. I don't think GPUs is
But
the end of the line here, and
no, I
so
understand
you
that.
might
But
see these
Jensen
other
is doing
players
this.
catching up.
No, but Jensen is building new products every quarter. Like he's releasing new products every quarter. Like he's all gas, no brakes, and he
That's
has the best
fair.
engineers. I don't know about the engineers at AMD if they because you need that. You know, for example, if today I'm an amazing engineer, hardware engineer, whatever. Like without without I would work for Nvidia or AMD, I'll pick Nvidia any day of the week because they're going to pay
Sure,
me with stocks, and so it's the battle for talent. So
Yeah,
that's
it
what I'm
is.
thinking. Again, I don't know. Hopefully that AMD gets it, but for me, I
but
mean,
talent takes a while to realize these advances. So I think in the short term, you're going to see someone besides Nvidia also doing pretty well in the market. I think there's
yeah,
room also for TSMC, TSSI, right? And so I think there's just like for reasons besides this like macro trends, I think they're going to do pretty well
yeah,
this
and I
year.
think Nvidia's biggest competitor is not necessarily AMD. It's probably the Googles of the world, the Amazon, AWSs, because they are building their own custom chips. So that's where I think. But that is interesting. So semiconductor space. Toyyib, what is your asset
I'll keep it
class?
brief.
Yeah,
I under similar road. I said under the biggest winners. I believe in energy, the
energy.
energy stocks and energy sector as best performing asset. I'm allocating more and more of my resources this year to the energy sector. I think it's going to do well, so I'm really excited about uh, that under this administration. Anyways,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Asuquo.
Yeah. So for me, kind of doubling down on the AI tech thing, I would say more specificity though. I would go with Google. I think Caleb, you said, I don't know if you mentioned them earlier as winners, but I think with the announcements that Sandra made on just the bunch of products that are being rolled out. So the upgraded Gemini platform. There are a couple of different things like a web browser that thinks, a virtual assistant, and everything is supposed to roll out this month. So I'm just like eagerly waiting for those rollouts. I think Google's embrace of AI and everything it can do is going to poise it for a really good 2025.
Wonderful. Mine was I had two. I had REITs. I was trying to think outside the box and be creative here. So mine was a real estate investment trust REITs and or tips or you call it the inflation protected security. So I picked REITs because obviously we are in the high treasury yield market. I think the last time I checked was 4.7. And in the high cost of capital environment, would you rather want to invest in a cryptocurrency that's extremely volatile, or an amazing company like an AI company which is going to go up, or you can get a risk-free rate. Invest in the bond market, you get your 4%. You sit back, chill because you're going to get the money. So that's how I looked at it, and I think REITs tend to provide very high dividend yields for their investors, and also I think with the inflation protected security, the tips. Uh, and that could be a good hedge against inflation, assuming inflation is going to be high. I think the last time I checked the CPI for November was 2.7%, so it's still not below the 2% rate that we want. So assuming that again, labor market is extremely tight, there's lower unemployment, and with the Trump's policies of trying to reduce the economy, like would it drive inflation? Would inflation be sustained? If inflation is going to be sustained, then it means that maybe the equity stocks might be re-rated because equity is definitely it's inversely proportional to the valuations of it. So I'm looking at safe places where you can store your money. Just buy a treasury bond and just ride the wave. So that was my best performing asset. The worst performing asset for 2025, I'll probably go first. I went with cryptocurrencies. I think again in a high treasury yield environment, I don't want to speculate on any stock. I mean, Bitcoin is going up and down. Solana, Ethereum. Let me just park my money in the safe place where I get my money back. So I just went with the opposite of safe, which was cryptocurrency. Raymond, your worst performing asset class for 2025?
There's going to be, I mean, so the meme coins. Some of them are going to do great. Some of them are going to do absolutely
Meme
terrible.
coins?
Yeah. So you have some hype
Okay.
around it with Elon Musk changing his profile picture to Kekius, and you got Dogecoin. You got these coins. They're gonna boom and bust. So Trump might give them another boom if he wants to catch on, and it's fun and haha, great publicity. But I think there's also going to be a lot of scam coins out there, and a lot of other people just trying to replicate the success of this when it's just so asymptotically based on which ones these public figures take up, and if they want to keep taking up new ones, right, or not. And I think it's just unless you're following very closely to like the inner circle of Elon Musk and like what are the memes catching his attention, right, then you can't just willy-nilly invest in meme coins where maybe a lot of people think they should just jump on. You're gonna lose your shirts. So I would say there's a lot of people have been getting scammed by ICOs, initial coin offerings for the longest time. This is just going to be worse, I think, this year with meme coins.
Awesome. Toyyib, the worst performing asset.
Worst performing asset. This is a interesting one. I'm going to go with a cheat code here slightly, which is just cash that's sitting in your checking account in a high, right?
Yep.
I think we're still in an inflationary environment, regardless of what they say, 2-3%. Prices haven't come down. I see, right? Inflation is still rampant in some ways. We think if they cut interest rates, things are going to get better, but it still stands to say, hey, if your money is just parked, if you got thousands of dollars just sitting in a checking account, outside of it being you need it for your immediate and daily bills, if it's not sitting in a high yield account, if it's not deployed in real estate, if it's not deployed even, right, to your point, in the bond market or even in the stock market, I think you're just losing money overall, and every day that dollar becomes less and less valuable. So,
Yeah. Also, I don't think there's any reason to have a savings account anymore. I have a 4.5% APY checking account. So, or 4.75, it's like very close to the 5% that saving accounts are trying to offer you, and you get all the liquidity and none of the downsides.
Yes,
so,
which is huge.
Yeah,
which is huge. So.
Asuquo, yo.
I think for me, industries that are depend on consumer discretionary spend, so like kind of retail and shopping, might suffer a little bit because I think interest rates are going to kind of stay where they are. I think the economy is still going to be tight for most of the year. Inflation is going to go up, and also the looming tariffs might make retail goods even more expensive. So I just think that sales are going to be depressed or neutral at best, and so they might be think of people, brands like Nike, retailers like Target. They all have depressed revenues and are underperforming sort of what investors think. So I think that's just going to continue on.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Sounds wonderful. Well, we have a quick fire for the last segment, which is around culture and entertainment. So let's start with the hottest topic right now, which is the NFL. Your predictions: who will win the Super Bowl in 2025? I know Toyyib is passionate about football, so kick it off.
Kick it off. Guys, put me on record. Last year I had a prediction when we first did our first podcast and Asuquo was on. I said the Feds will not cut interest rates until the third quarter, that was check. Put this as your check for this year. Detroit Lions will win the Super Bowl this year.
Are you serious?
They will beat
Actually, I'm with you on that
Chiefs. It's a Detroit Chiefs Super Bowl, and Detroit wins. So put that on the record.
Yeah, well, it's either the Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars. If I couldn't steal your answer.
Okay.
I'm actually with Toyyib on this one. I was going for the Lions. I was basically saying whoever wins the game that they played last week, the Lions.
Mm. Oh, really? Okay.
And I was going. The Lions won. I like the coach a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going with Patrick Mahomes, the greatest of all time. The first ever to three-peat is going to be done in the NFL history. I'm very excited. I think the last couple of games they've been tightening up their offense. I mean, the defense is just crazy. It's just they're solid, but the offense is kind of humming. So I think they will do something that has been done. So I'll go with the Chiefs. Okay, and also NBA championship. Who do you all think is going to win? Probably start with Raymond. I'm not sure if you follow sports.
I don't follow the NBA
Oh,
as much there, so
much as
I
that.
probably don't
Okay,
have. Maybe I'll choose more of a local team like the
local
Sacramento
team. Orlando
Lions.
Kings.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the Kings. You're right. Yeah, yes.
All right. Cool. So
I'm going this year. I mean, the Celtics won it last year. I've got the Celtics
back
repeat
to
this
back.
year. Yeah, I've got
Okay.
Celtics Nuggets in the final. Celtics take it. So we'll see. I wish more of the superstars like Steph would be in it, LeBron, but they're not on competitive teams. So yeah, I've got Boston Celtics taking it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with somewhere close by. I would have said Dallas, but you know what? I don't want to be delusional, so let's go with
Hey, they made the finals last year.
OKC.
So
Let's go with Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City.
okay, that's a good
Oklahoma
one.
City. Yeah, same. I was about to go with Oklahoma City, but I was like, I think the Caps are doing an amazing job. The young guns with their point guard and the other team. I think they're doing really good. So I think it's going to be the Caps. OKC. It's going to be
Oh,
a transition of power from the LeBron and Steph Curry's and the Kevin Durant's to the new athletes. So I think it's Caps, OKC, and the Caps win. That's my prediction.
okay.
Okay,
So
That's a big prediction. So
like it.
yeah,
all
just
right.
want to see. Well, a big thank you to our guest again for joining us today. We hope that you guys enjoyed this session,
Fun.
and I want to also thank the audience for making an investment of time to listen. We appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe every week. Every Tuesday evening, we'll be dropping up the video for you guys to watch. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Please comment, share with your friends. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Ray and Asuquo. Appreciate you all.
Thanks for
Yeah,
Asuquo.
thank you.
Yeah, pleasure
Thanks
having
for
you
having
guys.
us. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.